In today's You Ask, I Answer, Pradeep asks, what are the most important factors to consider when auditing digital marketing performance? Well, this is a really good question. It's a complicated question because we need to be able to understand our data and understand what we're measuring first, whether we're measuring the right or wrong things, and then we can figure out what's working and what's not. We're going to use the software R. This is free open source software from a number of different foundations. You can download it for free. I also recommend the RStudio interface, which is also free. That makes it a little bit easier to use because it is very much a programming language. So let's do this. We're going to start by I'm going to take some fun Twitter data, right? These are just my tweets. Let's take a quick look at these tweets over the last 90 days. And I know well, I care about retweets. That's a metric that's important to me. So we're going to focus on that in the here. Now, if you wanted to know what measures were really important, I would strongly suggest doing this with Google Analytics data instead, because that's certainly has greater connections to out to business results. Retweets not necessarily true. The first thing I'm going to do is look to see. I want to know what data is missing, if any. So I use a function called plot missing, and I don't see anything here. This is all 0%. So we're looking pretty good there. Now, there are a bunch of variables here. If we open the variable selector, factors, which are non-numeric things, the text, the handles, and stuff like that. For the purposes of understanding data and its impact, we want to remove those for right now unless they are meaningful. So if I had gone through and categorized tweets by their topics, say social media or SEO, I could certainly use that to understand my data set. But in this case, I have not done that, and we're not going to do that in this particular exercise. So let's go ahead and remove all of the non-numeric variables. We'll close this up here. Now we see we've gone from 40 to 19, down to 19 variables. There's still some in here that are not helpful. So for example, tweet ID, not really helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And now we have numeric data. The first place I typically like to start is in correlations. What are the correlations between these different variables? So we'll do that, and it says, warning, there are standard deviations that are 0. This means there's some variables in here that are just zeros all the way down or close to zeros. And so we're going to need a few libraries to do some exploration on this. So let's go ahead and actually get a whole bunch of these libraries, and this just loads them up in the software. Okay, so let's look at our data set and see what variables are near 0 or zeros. This one, app opens, app installs. I have no tweets involving either of those. No tweets that have been emailed, and no tweets that have encouraged people to dial a phone number. So those variables are in fact causing problems in the predictive model, because, well, frankly, they're zeros, and they don't really inform anything. So I'm going to knock those out. Now, we can take a look at the correlations here. I'll make this a bit bigger. What we're looking for, here's retweets. What's the biggest number? What are the biggest numbers that indicate this is definitely something that impacts retweets? So we see here 0.58 for hashtags, 0.43 for replies, 0.74 for likes. That seems like it's somewhat important. 0.66 for user profile clicks, 0.48 for media views. So interesting stuff there. If we go down this way here, media engagements 0.61, impressions 0.68, engagements 0.71, engagement rate 0.09, detail expands 0.42, URL clicks 0.4. Now, do you see the problem here? Engagements and engagement rate are actually sums of all these other activities. That's a problem because that's kind of throwing a wrench into our ability to understand what's going on. Those are roll-up numbers and not something that would help us say, let's just go get more engagements. Okay, well, what kind of engagements? Do we want link clicks? Do we want permanent clicks? Do we want profile clicks? What's going on? So we're going to take those two out because that's really actually fairly unhelpful. Let's go rerun this, our plot. And we'll zoom in here. And now for retweets, we see impressions is important there. Media engagement is somewhat important. Likes is important. Hashtag clicks is important. But when you look at these numbers, they're all, a good number of them are relatively close. We don't have a really good answer here. The answer, there's not just a handful of things. It basically says so far, do everything. Well, I don't want to necessarily do everything. So the next step we could take, there's a couple of different ways we could do this. We could run a subsets to see what combination of things is randomly subsetting through and taking 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 variables at a time and testing them against each other. However, there's a machine learning technique called random forests, which does this very, very efficiently. And so we're going to use that. I'm going to say, I care about retweets. And let's use everything else that's left in our data to focus on retweets. So let's go ahead and run this. And this is going to run 5,000 variations of every possible variable put together. And we see our error rate there slowly declining, looking good, staying relatively consistent. And now let's ask the random forest what things matter. Here, these 2 variables are the furthest in this scoring system here: impressions and likes, followed by all the others. The others are important, but these 2 really are the most important things. So if I can get impressions and likes on my tweets, that is likely to result in retweets. Now, what do I do with this information? I now have a hypothesis, right? This is the beginning of the scientific method. I'm going to go out and try and get more impressions and more likes on my tweets and see if that, in fact, results in more retweets. So scientific method, we've formed a hypothesis. Now we go test it, gather data, analyze it, and then refine our hypothesis to see if, in fact, impressions and likes are a causal variable. So if we zoom back up to the 50,000-foot view, Pradeep's question about how do we know what factors to consider when auditing our digital marketing, the answer is we don't know. We have to first do analysis. And this whole session here, what we did with just retweets, is what we call exploratory data analysis. What's in the data? What's in the box? What data is good? What data is not good? And then build a model that has some predictive value to it, impressions and likes, and now we go out and we test that. This model is not the answer. We cannot conclusively say without a shadow of doubt that, yep, it's all retweets. No, this is the start of the scientific method. We've now got a hypothesis. We can go test. We have to test it. We have to verify it. It may turn out that this is false. There may be something wrong with the data. There may be something wrong conceptually. There may be some factors we are not considering. But if you were to then pull in, say, your CRM data and your marketing automation data and your Google Analytics data and your social media data and do this across all of these and have a target, instead of retweets, have a target of sales or leads or form fills or whatever. Once you do that, then you'll be able to understand, to have a bigger picture understanding of what actually matters to your business. Audit your strategy that way, do this, and then test those combinations of variables. When you do this for your digital marketing, there's a good chance you're going to have 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 different variables. So you won't necessarily do this every single day or even once a month. You'll probably do this quarterly or maybe even semi-annually. But doing this set of techniques will help you get a better understanding of what you should be testing next to drive the results you want. And that's how you do a digital marketing audit. Is you have to take in all your data, clean it, prepare it, understand it, analyze it, and then form your hypothesis and begin your testing. So a great question, Pradeep, a very complicated question that requires real analysis, real analytics. If you just guess, or you're just looking at the prepackaged charts that come in a lot of software packages, and if you haven't connected your marketing systems data together, you're not going to come up with even close to the right answer. You're not even going to come up with a good question to ask when you're doing you're trying to figure out what's wrong with your strategy. So you can use Python too. You can use SAS or SPSS or whatever statistical language you prefer. If you don't have the capability to do this, go and find someone who does. Go and hire a firm of some kind, an agency, a person to do this for you so that you can then develop sound hypotheses, because otherwise you're just guessing, and that's going to lead to bad outcomes. As always, my company, Brain Trust Insights, does this stuff, so please feel free to get in touch if this is of interest to you. If not, enjoy the video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the newsletter, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.